First thing Tuesday morning, getting back to the real weights now. Structure's back in play. The deload is over. It's time to hit some PRs and make some weights clang and bang. Ran the incline bench with a top end set of 253.5 pounds for 4 reps, dropping down the rep range for sets of 4 across, running the back off sets at 228 pounds respectively. But instead of just 4 back off sets, I've increased it to 5 so that there's still 24 total reps being worked on the bench. I did keep the thick handled supinated close grip pull downs as a secondary back exercise because the last block through, I did not feel like I had found the number I should be working at. So we raised the weight comparatively to last week and we dropped the rep range, and we'll keep on playing that game as the numbers continued to increase. Still felt a lot of forearm fatigue as expected, but overall I still feel like there's a lot of room for improvement on this particular exercise. Went from here right into rack pulls. Kind of a strange upper body lift, but I'm doing them in a higher rep range to prioritize trap development as well as grip strength. 235 pounds for sets of 12 across, and you'll notice I'm using a double overhand grip and no straps. That is purposeful because, as I mentioned, one of the aims is to improve grip strength, and it's tough to improve grip strength when you're utilizing a training tool that allows you to bypass the fatigue that sets in your grip. From there, went into lying dumbbell extensions with the 30-pound dumbbells for sets of 20 across, 4 rounds, and then burnt out the triceps with one of my favorite tricep exercises, just a simple old school rope tricep press down for 2 sets of 15. As you can imagine, doubling down on the triceps with the high rep extensions and high rep rope press downs, there was a solid pump being experienced by the end of this upper body training session. All in all, a great start to the first week in this new training block. Thursday afternoon, getting back under the bar, under the SSB today, working some volume work, then some excessive volume on stiff leg deadlifts. I gotta build those hammies, and just for a little bit of punishment, not really punishment, but we're gonna throw in some barbell lunges after stiff leg deadlift, so hitting those numbers with a little bit of fatigue present from all the stiff leg deadlifts that are in front of them in today's programming structure. So not something I would typically do, but I'm interested to see what the yield is through this block. Starting off this top end set of SSB squats with 280 pounds for a set of 6, closing the gap quickly on the 300 pound mark. The SSB is actually starting to feel smooth. I feel in the groove on this now. I always used to feel really awkward with SSB squats, and I'm actually starting to enjoy them now, considering, I imagine, because the weight is going up on them and I don't feel as weak, and I'm actually starting to experience progressive yield that carries over to all of my lifts, especially considering lower back strength. So from there I went into 3 sets of 15 at 195 pounds on the stiff leg deadlifts, working on building those hammies and that lower back. That's some pretty solid calf development that's coming out there too on that left calf. From here, I went into barbell walking lunges. Now, it's not very common for me to throw in lunges after stiff leg deadlifts, but once in a while, I like to vary the intensity by adjusting the order of operations, considering exercise selection. This is rare. I don't often do this. But on the odd occasion, as you can see, I do. So in this current block, the lunges will always be at the very end, which is encouraging because if I can build out the foundation on lunges, if I move them closer to the front of the training session, I will excel to an even higher degree with the relative progressions because they won't be nearly as difficult because there won't be as much fatigue present from previous exercises. Just finishing off lower body. Tough workout. Lunges after stiff leg deadlifts. I can't decide which one should go first. I dislike the process of lunges more, and I like putting the measurability of the stiff leg deadlifts before lunges. Gotta catch my breath after those high reps. Generally, I like the measurability and the carryover factor to go first, but those are both very taxing exercises. And I do believe I would excel to a higher degree if the lunges went first in terms of output and recovery from them, but at the same time, I feel like I would have less of a carryover to deadlifts through this training block, simply because the stiff leg deadlift variation does relate a lot more to the movement pattern relative to my Sunday pulls. So I don't know if there's a right or wrong, but I do know that none of that was fun at all. So it's been a pretty hectic week back to the gym after taking a quick little break to some warmer weather in Florida for 3 or 4 days. Week is wrapping up, about to get under the bar right now. Energy levels are definitely not as high as they could be or should be, but regardless, we got some weight to move. I'm well rested in terms of sleep quality and quantity. I'm just a little bit drained, but that's not an excuse to not hit the iron. Managed to come in strong with 205 by 10 with the neutral grip angled Swiss bar bench press, 10 rep PR. And I definitely got a pump off of set 1. Back that off to 185 for 2 sets of 10, and I will tell you that I barely managed to squeeze out those 2 back off sets. The blood flow and the pump were excessive. Went from here into Pendlay Rows, actually. Now, I haven't incorporated Pendlay Rows in a minute. Started them off with 200 pounds for sets of 5. Purposely programmed them to be heavier and lower reps. A little bit of inevitable form breakdown when you're trying to row that sort of weight, but it's going to help big time with my ability to efficiently pull heavier deadlifts off of the ground. As soon as I finished off with the Pendlay Rows, went right into a hammer grip wide grip pull down using the short neutral grip attachment. Never used this before, so started off relatively light, felt pretty easy, 115 pounds for 3 sets of 20. Got a solid pump, but definitely a lot of room for improvement on this bar here, so we'll build that one out. Then went into the close grip earthquake bar bench press. Kept this exercise in for triceps. It's still too light to be a primary lift for me, but the linear progressions still have a lot of room for yield. So put it at 124, cleared 4 sets across with 12. Definitely starting to get the weight up on that bar. I will say, though, that it's definitely much more of a challenge having multiple large plates on. So I'm quite curious to see in the future, once I can start getting like a 35 or a 45 on there with maybe a 25, how challenging it becomes. If it's just the fact that the 25s themselves are harder, or if as the plates get bigger, that pendulum swing that comes with them makes the lift more and more difficult as the load increases over time. So different variables that I'm trying to kind of figure out, but I'm definitely becoming a lot more proficient with the bar itself. Finished off this upper body training session with 2 sets of curls with 70.5 pounds. Managed to clear 12 reps on the first set, but then only barely got 8 on the second set. Solid session considering I wasn't feeling all too hot going into this mentally, so we'll take it. Sunday morning strength session. Time to get under the bar, time to do some squats. And we got deadlifts today as well. It's going to be a good training session, a little bit boring, a little bit monotonous, as lower body training sessions tend to be, but we're going to get after those numbers, as that is the priority today. And this is not exactly how I planned to start this lower body training session. I was going for a set of 7 with 370 pounds on the bar, and I got through rep 6. The form was breaking down earlier in the set, much earlier than I would have liked it to start breaking down. Should have realized when I was warming up that the weights were moving a lot slower than they should be, and that mental fatigue that I was experiencing yesterday must have been setting in, because that, I think, was rep 6. I wasn't counting. No, that was 6. Oh, man. Oh, 5 looked bad enough. Here we go. Here comes number 7. To be completely honest, I probably could have pushed this one through. If I had just broken that hip angle there, I would have gotten it.
but I was not having it, so I just collapsed into sadness. Really backed the weight off here. You could tell this is much more than a 10% back off, and I was supposed to clear 3 back off sets, only managed 2. The fatigue was much too high, and to be completely honest, I was getting quite nervous about whether or not I would even be able to pull half of my top end set of deadlifts. I was programmed for a top end set with 425 pounds for a set of 7, and as you can see, rep 1 moves slow, but fortunately I was able to keep the form tight enough throughout the entire set that I was able to lock in 425 for a set of 7, which is some serious volume happening. So I'll take it. You win some, and sometimes you lose some.
Today's training session didn't go exactly as planned. Bailed under the top set of squats. Whew, was supposed to do 7 reps, got 6. Damn near killed myself. But managed to come through and pull the top end set of deadlifts. So not every day is a great day. But you can't just pack it in because you had 1 bad set. It ain't over till it's over. We managed to finish this workout off on a good note. Actually, that's a lie. This is what I'm finishing off on, and this is definitely not a good note. But the deadlifts were a good note. So we managed to have a good note in the middle of today's training session. Good.